uh, and how can you get to be a project manager? What are the ways that you can do that? This week we are going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about a Scrum Master role, and we're going to discuss what it is, what are the common terminologies around it, and what the overall process looks like. So Rajat has joined me once again, and I'm going to let him in now. Hi Rajat,
Hi, Himanshu. Hi, everyone.
how are you doing, Rajat?
I'm good. Thank you, Himanshu. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks. So Rajat, I just gave a brief that we last week what we spoke about and what we are going to discuss today. So why don't you start off with a brief of what exactly is Scrum management, or what exactly is the Scrum manager's role? So could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So, Scrum is basically, a process where the complex problems, are solved by, breaking them down into the smaller problems. So, if we go by the bookish language, it tells that it's an adaptive approach.
Mhm.
But, if we go by a practical solution or a practical answer, that's like, breaking a big problem into small ones, assigning those problems to each of the, developers or anybody who's going to
Uh-huh.
take care of those problems, and everybody has to do their part, and then collectively we'll combine everything together, to solve that problem. So this is kind of a scrum is like basically a framework, on which the development or the projects work.
Uh-huh.
And scrums are, it has a very important part, that is Scrum Master. He has to take care of all the things, that all the processes in the scrums are being followed. So scrums, basically people what tend to do is they confuse the Scrum Master's role with the project manager. So
Yeah.
it is true, actually. These both roles are very different. These both people have different skill set, and that's how the Scrum Masters are different from the project managers. So
Right.
if you talk about the details, what a Scrum Master does, they usually have to take care of the team. They have to work very very closely with the team. They
Uh-huh.
don't have much role to play when it comes to the client. So there's
Right.
no client handling. There's a specified role which comes into play, that is handling the team and handling the tasks which are being done by the development team.
Right.
So there's a person which is called as product owner in each product.
Mhm.
If we talk about, if we are following the Scrum framework, so
Yeah.
product owner, what it does is, product owner will collect the requirements from the client. And since there are many stakeholders from the client sides many a times, so
Yeah.
that tends to confuse the team and the project managers. That's why we bring this kind of a role of Scrum Master and product owner, so that the requirements are coming from just single source, that is the product owner. So
Right.
product owners will explain these requirements to the Scrum Master, and sometimes to the team as well. And the team has to follow those requirements, and Scrum Master will break these requirements into the user stories, different sprints and modules. So this is what a high level idea of what a Scrum Master is and their role.
Great. Great. Sounds good. So you spoke about the role. I know from what I understand, there are several different processes that are being followed, several different aspects that we follow within a Scrum. Sprint reviews, sprint grooming. I
Mhm.
mean, I've heard about all those. So first of all, I want to understand what is the difference between Scrum and sprint, and what exactly is the difference?
Right. That's a very good question, Imanshu. I mean, we have to understand that these two terms are linked to each other, and
Mhm.
people tend to confuse these two terms
Yeah.
when it comes to the practical approach. So these
Right.
two terms are interlinked, and basically, the Scrum is, as I told, that it's a framework on which the
Yeah.
whole development model will work. How the development will be carried out, how the tasks will be allocated, everything. This is a Scrum is a framework basically, but Scrum
Yeah.
is not a methodology. Waterfall and Agile is a methodology. And under that follows, the Scrum is lies under that. And the team, whatever things will be done, will be split using the Scrum framework. Now, the sprint is, a predefined time to carry out any task. So if we have, say, 5 to 10 requirements or just one requirement, that needs to be fulfilled, or maybe a product is being enhanced. So we'll
Yeah.
give that task a time. There's a time limit or a time foundation which will be given to different things of each task. So if a developer has to build that functionality, so
Uh,
they will build within a specified period of time, which they will be telling us, which is called as estimations. So then
got
the
it.
tester will be actually testing out, and they will need a specified time. That I'll be doing it in 1 day or 2 days, or maybe week a week's time. So then collecting all these things together, whatever estimations are given by each of the developer, tester, and other members which are required on the team, or on the task. So these all will be collected, and then we will collectively call it as a sprint, a
Yeah.
defined time to complete that task.
Hmm.
So this is
That's
the difference between these two terms.
and that's very interesting. But what about sprint review? So are these a part of Scrum, like sprint review, sprint grooming? Are these a part of Scrum, or how are these processes? How what exactly are these, and how they work together?
Right. So, in order to understand these terms, we
Mhm.
must be able to understand what are sprints, and which I've already told. So,
Right.
also another a kind of an idea, what do we put in the sprint. So I'll just give a brief about that. So just assume that we have about 20 modules which needs to be built in a product. So
Yeah.
product is being built from the scratch. There are 20
Mhm.
modules. These all modules will be divided like 4 or 5 modules under each sprint. We will be giving out these modules.
Right.
Then on these modules we will be building our user stories. So
Cool.
this a particular, there's a login functionality, there's a sign up functionality,
Mhm.
there's a home page. All these things will be put under sprint, and then we will define the user stories. So now this product has about 4 to 5 sprints, and with each sprint, there's associated modules. We'll complete all these modules, and then we'll move to next sprint. This is how it goes. So it's
Mhm.
basically an incremental approach. So what happens when we complete one sprint? It is not necessary that we'll be able to achieve everything.
Yeah.
There will be certain functionalities or certain requirements which might not get fulfilled, which needs to be taken to the next sprint.
Mhm.
So when it comes to the like whatever things were left behind, we have to take it forward and put it under next sprints, as per how the time is allowing.
Yeah.
Now what will happen, uh, like we are under sprint 2, we have to see how we did in sprint 1, what were the mistakes that we did. So this is called something, this is called as sprint retrospective. So what we did right, what we did wrong, and what we have to do, to improve the processes on this project. So this is called as sprint retrospective. All the team members, all the stakeholders are present in this meeting. This is like a 45 minute or a 1 hour meeting,
Mhm.
where we discuss, everybody bring all the problems and good things to the table, which we can document. And then we have to eliminate these points which were not working out in the last sprint for us.
Got it. So retrospective is something which I believe is done at the end. Is that right? End of a sprint?
Yes, end of a sprint, like once sprint is completed, then we can do a retrospective, and it can be done for multiple sprints as well. So if sometimes we have 2 week sprint, then we can do retrospective once in a month. So
Mhm.
for 2 sprints we will be doing one retrospective.
Now, one more confusion that I've come across is that sprint review and sprint retrospective could seem very similar, because both is something which is in relation to reviewing what we've done. Could you tell me the exact difference between what a sprint review is and what a retrospective is, and at what stage are these done?
Right. So sprint retrospectives are done at at the end of the sprint, but not necessarily at very last day, or the product has that feature has gone live, or it has gone to the right development server. But
Mhm.
it is something which we can do after like 4 or 5 days also. So it is not necessary to do the sprint retrospectives right after that sprint is over.
Got it.
Sprint retrospectives are basically, retrospective meetings are to understand the overall process, what we did wrong, what we did right.
Mhm.
So it is about the overall process, what like what all things were done in the last month. So now coming to the sprint reviews, are the things which we were not able to fulfill. What was the target? Did we achieve that goal or not? It is about that. So it is
Got
not
it.
that what process or what things were we following, what was the goal, and what was the achievement, what we have done actually. So if the things were not streamlined, or we were not able to achieve the goals, then these
Mhm.
points are taken to the sprint retrospectives, and then we are discussing there, what is the problem in the retrospectives, and how we can improve it.
Got it. Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. Another thing that I've come across is a role of a product owner and Scrum Master. So these are often confused, and people are confused whether these are same, different, or if a single person can do both the roles. So could you talk about that a little bit?
Right. So definitely these both roles cannot be done by a single person.
Mhm.
This is, whosoever defined this scrums and agile methodology. uh, I cannot recall the names exactly, but I have read these things theoretically also, that these two processes are very different, these two
Mhm.
roles are very different, and in order to move completely agile, we got to have these two different roles in the team. But again, agile is being, as the name suggests, we can change. It is
Yeah.
change basically. So according to each organization, their bandwidth and everything, so agile is being modified according to the organization's need. But
Right.
if we follow the ideal agile methodology, then definitely these two roles are very different and cannot be followed by same person. Product owner is more inclined towards the client, and setting up the backlog for the team, what needs to be
Mhm.
done, what is the priority right now, what kind of bugs needs to be fixed. So priorities are set by the product owner, and
Yeah.
also he's more towards the client solving their problems, and telling them or asking them what are the requirements.
Right.
Coming to the Scrum Master role, it is more inclined towards the team. It is a part of the development team. It is a part of the Scrum team. So Scrum Master is actually helping out the team members to prioritize their tasks or anything if they need immediately. So
Right.
team usually do not contact the product owner directly, and the product owner is talking just to the client. If any problem is being faced by the development team, they are being told to the Scrum Master, and then Scrum Master needs to address those in the meetings or with the product owner. There's one more important
Got it.
point which we
Mhm.
need to understand about the Scrum Master role is that they have to define the user stories. The product backlog will be set up by the product owner, what
Yeah.
needs to be done, but to explain those theoretically, to explain those by writing to the development team and explaining the features, it is done by the Scrum Master.
Got it. Got it. So overall, I think it's just the front end and back end of one overall management
Exactly.
role that has been divided in agile is what we're talking about here. Got it.
Right.
And one another thing that I've heard is that there is a I mean, you don't need to do too much documentation in a Scrum project. If you follow Agile, you don't need to. I mean, there is no documentation at all, is what I've heard. Now, is how true is that? And could you put some light? What kind of documentation are we talking about in a Scrum project?
Right. So this is not at all true, Himanshu. Definitely, if we are going agile or anybody is going agile, we do need documentation.
Right.
Any like documentations, what will those be? There will be some business requirements. Those are like high level documents where the requirements are written. But
Yeah.
the development team, if we come to the practical approach and practicality of the things, the development team will understand business, but
Mhm.
to have that combination of, or to combine all the team members to work together, those things needs to be mentioned technically to them, and it
Right.
cannot be just verbal. We can just have a 15-minute call in the morning and discuss what needs to be built. This is not how it will work. There will be no tracking. So in
Yeah.
order to track your work, in order to solve the complex problems, we need to do the documentation. first comes the user stories, and the planning of the sprint. What all
Yeah,
things will be delivered in each sprint? What is the backlog, and what are the user stories? So if I usually tell these to many interns, or many sometimes the project coordinators also, that we discussed in the previous one. So
yeah,
if the scrum master, or the manager is not defining the user stories properly for the team, then the development team has all the right to do it incorrectly.
yeah,
We cannot take things for granted, and we cannot assure by just telling the functionalities verbally to the team how to
exactly.
do it. So it is all scrum master's responsibilities, to provide the right documentation to the team. So this is just about the user stories. Then there comes test planning. There is a whole set of document, which where we do the planning of the testing, and how the
Mhm,
testing will be carried out, be it unit testing, be it UAT, or be it the
mhm,
functional testing. Then the test cases, test reviews, even this retrospectives and reviews, these needs to be documented, and what
right,
is happening and when is it happening. So there should be a track of all the documents, and definitely it's an incorrect statement that we do not need the documentation. Definitely documentation is required to do the things in the right and streamlined manner.
right. Absolutely. Great. I think that was a great insight about what a Scrum Master role is, and what are the processes around it, and how those actually work in the practical world. Could you also tell a little bit about how somebody can groom or grow into this kind of a role if somebody's interested?
Right. So if somebody there are many organizations which have not gone completely agile, which is
Yeah,
very much okay. It's their bandwidth. Since if you're working in some kind of an organization where you have not you don't have an opportunity to learn directly in the scrum environment, there are many courses online. Scrum Org and Scrum Alliance, they provide the right set of course, where it is not just the theoretical knowledge which they are giving in the 2 day course. It's
yeah,
an 8 hour every day. It goes on for 2 days. You have to sit with your laptop or in a classroom for 8 hours, and you have to learn about these processes.
right.
So it is not just the theoretical knowledge which they will provide you. It is more like a practical approach, where they will be giving you out problems, and you have to tell the solutions of those problems there and then. So this is how it is a very practical course which can be done, and it is
Yeah.
not just limited to Scrum Master. Your team, your development team, your testers, even they can do the certified Scrum Master certification.
Mhm.
Why? Because when we work in the completely agile environment or the scrum environment, we need to understand the process. It's not just about completing your task, completing your testing,
Right.
completing your functionality. We need to understand what kind of a process is being followed. So definitely, even if you are not a scrum master but working in an agile environment, this certification will add a value to your resume, to your profile.
Great, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's one of the great things about us. We are also going agile now, and we are working towards being 100% agile. As an organization, Amplify is doing that right now. So I think that's a great add-on for somebody who's trying to work towards that, or trying to learn agile and getting into those kind of work environment. So that is it for today. I think, Rajat, this was a great explanation about the Scrum Master role in the nutshell. We'll keep on bringing content like this. Rajat is here. I might add in more people from Amplify, and we might bring in more subjects to it. If you guys like what we are doing, support us, like, share, comment on this video or this live stream, share your questions. If you feel free to reach out to Rajat or me directly, we are happy to guide you in your career. And the whole agenda, the whole mission behind these videos, these live streams, is to spread knowledge and work together to help others, and so that we all can learn from each other. So if you guys have any inputs, any questions, comment those, add those, directly DM us. We'll be more than happy to take those questions. And if you would like to suggest any topics for our upcoming videos, Rajat and I will be more than happy to take those videos, comments, or your questions in next videos with your names and where you're contacting from, so we can talk about all those stuff in the next video. With that, I think Rajat, that is it. Do you want to add anything else here?
No, that was a good session, Imanshu, and thank you for having me here. Just one
Great.
thing, like last time, one of the students from a college reached out to me, and they were asking me uh, questions. What are we doing, and how we can become the project manager? And it was great, interacting with that college student. So people, they just have to reach out to us, and we will bring more content to them, and I hope we can solve the problems and help people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Adding to that, if you guys have any questions regarding other departments like marketing, growth, talent acquisition, HR, anything else, put those questions in. I'll try to get industry experts on this Sunday session from other industries as well, other companies as well, probably. So I'll keep on working on that. Add your questions if there are any, and we'll be more than happy to take those up in the next session. Great, Rajat. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you next week then.
Sure. Thank you, Manshu.
All right, thanks. Have a good one.